Hi, I'm Holly, and this is my happy place. I am a mom of six, two sets of twins, married to my high school sweetheart and gardening partner, and together we have been gardening in Portland, Oregon for almost 2 decades now. It's been the last 10 years, though, that we've been living that garden lifestyle where we live, eat, breathe, dream, sleep the garden. This is our main kitchen garden. It's where the majority of our vegetables grow. Started out as 2 raised beds. It's now 16 and several vertical growing areas. We also have an herb garden. We have edible flowers that grow throughout the landscaping. And this last season, we burst the boundaries of the garden and went in the front yard and planted a whole bunch of vegetables up there, and it was wildly successful. So we will be doing that again this season. The winter for us here is pretty mild, but it's our downtime. We don't do a lot of winter gardening. We do have a lot of the low maintenance things, herbs, broccoli is still growing, chard, cabbage, celery. So we have a lot of stuff still going on, just nothing that needs a lot of attention right now, which is good because we really like to be in the slow lane for the winter. We go hard in spring and summer, and so this is just our time to kick back and think about what didn't work last season, what we want to do differently in the upcoming season. I draw a lot of pictures that never come to fruition. I make tons of seed lists that don't always add up. It's just our planning and preparing months. We also love to gather up our inspiration, whether it be from Instagram, YouTube, or magazines, and also just our own collections as well to inspire us to keep going all season long. Spring and summer and fall, we are collecting flowers to dry, herbs to dry, vegetables to eat and to preserve, whether it be canning or freezing or dehydrating. There's always work to be done in the garden. And little by little, that work adds up to these amazing collections, even if you're just a backyard gardener. We've managed to fill up a wildcraft pantry full of really cool dried flowers that I use for all kinds of projects. I dry mainly edible flowers so that most can be used in the kitchen as well. So it's a really fun collection to have. We also have a garden pantry, which is full of garden creations and collections like dried beans and vinegars that we're infusing. We have incorporated in our regular grocery store food pantry some of our canned good items and our dehydrated fruit from the garden, and then we have an entire freezer dedicated just to garden goods. So you'd really be surprised how much you can collect and save and preserve even if you're growing just in your yard. So come on in, I'd love to show you some of my collections. But first, be sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss any great videos from Kellogg Garden. I prefer frozen veggies and fruit over canned, so our freezer gets stocked. So much so that we now have 3 freezers just to keep up. This is one of them. It is stocked full of blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, pesto, our favorite freezer jam, tomato sauce, and tons of zucchini. Here's a zucchini tip for you. When I shred mine, I shred it in measured amounts. 2 cups are mine to be exact. Then I lay them flat in the freezer so I maximize my freezer space. So this is our main food pantry. This is where we keep a combination of our grocery store items and the garden goods that we can and dehydrate. I use a water bath canner, so we are just canning our tomatoes and tomato sauce, apple pie filling, fruit, pickles, and peppers. I also have some of the items that we dehydrate from the garden, like tomato chips. We have apple chips, cinnamon apple chips, and dehydrated blueberries. I also have some lilac infused honey stored in here. So a little bit of the garden makes its way to every shelf and nook and cranny in the house. And that's the way it should be. This is what I like to call my garden pantry. It's actually a entertainment center that we repurposed into this garden pantry. This is where we keep our collection of dried beans, like pinto beans, white beans, black beans, scarlet runner beans. So pretty. Oh, these are gorgeous. If you don't grow these, you should. Cranberry beans, which are also beautiful in the garden. Of course, these can all be used in soups and stews. They just need to soak overnight, or you can use them like we do in bingo. We also have popcorn, Black Dakota popcorn, glass gem popcorn floating around here somewhere. We also have our dehydrated apple peels. These are just, I don't know why these are in here, but when you're making your apple pie filling or doing your canning, don't forget those peels. Wash them up and stick them in your dehydrator. You can even sugar them and cinnamon them. Oh, so good. Good on oatmeal or just handfuls as a snack. This is just oregano flowers. I like to use it as garnish, pretties. This is our collection of vinegars that we have infusing. Purple basil, thyme, rosemary vinegar. This one is calendula, basil, thyme, rosemary. So pretty. They just steep in the vinegar. White vinegar or champagne vinegar is best. You want to rinse and air dry your herbs and flowers. And then you just simply put them all in a jar together, stick them in a dark, cool place for 4 to 6 weeks or longer, and they're delicious. You can use them in marinades, salad dressings, any recipe that calls for vinegar, you can use them in those little packets that you get for marinating meat or your summer grilling. Use your garden vinegar with those. Kick everything up a notch. I have chai blossom vinegar also still infusing that it's ready to go. Need to strain it out. Chai blossoms really need to sit out. You need to bang them up. They are critter hotels, so make sure you give a good rinsing to those before you make them. And then these vinegars are for cleaning. This one is using lavender stems, so nothing goes to waste. The stems smell amazing, and steeped in vinegar for a super long time really smells good. Mix 1 part this, 1 part water, and you're cleaning. Same thing with your citrus peels, another thing not to go to waste. Again, just mixed with your average white vinegar and you're good to go. We have our sunflower seeds, roasted pumpkin seeds, some of our overflow of peppers, which we dry, both hang dry for weeks and weeks, and we also dry some in the dehydrator. This is just some extra we have. We love to keep them whole, they last longer, but we also have some ground up too. Black sunflowers for our chickens, and then just some of our overstock of looks like mint and oregano in here. Some red onions, overflow of beans, roses to eat, and then some more smudge sticks that I showed you. I forgot to say with this vinegar, after they steep for 4 to 6 weeks or longer, strain them out and then keep them like this in an airtight container in a dark, cool place. I actually store the ones that are finished closer to where I cook, but keep them in a dark, cool place and they last forever. This one is purple basil vinegar, about the prettiest thing you could ever make from your garden. Anyway, this one's just for fun. This entertainment center's worked out good too. It holds all of our canning stuff as well. So, cool DIY. So this is my Wildcraft collection. It's made up of mostly edible flowers. I like to be able to use them between crafting and the kitchen. So we keep a mostly edible collection. I do have some rhododendron leaves, petals here that are not edible, but very fun to craft with. Same thing with my Spanish lavender here. I don't use Spanish lavender in the kitchen very much. I use English lavender, it's sweeter. But this is wonderful to use in crafts. It's so pretty. It's mostly a collection of roses. Again, edible. These roses start out a really pretty hot pink, and when they're dried, they dry this beautiful purple color. It's gorgeous, and these are almost a year old, so looking amazing. These also were white with little pink ends. They've definitely lost a lot of their color, but still really beautiful. I find that my yellow roses just turn brown. They don't hold their color at all, so I don't even bother to dry those at all. I use them fresh. My calendula and nasturtium yellow flowers, they hold their color great, but my roses do not. Same deal with the white, not always a worthwhile collection to keep. These are snapdragons. I also have marigolds, again, white snapdragons, which do hold their color pretty well. I've got some snapdragons on the stem. I love to use those on thank you cards or birthday cards and glue on a little bit of pretties, nature pretties, always trying to include the garden in whatever I do. So it's just for fun. I also have this sweet little collection of dried whole violas and pansies. I mean, they're beautiful when they're fresh, but when they're dried, they shrink into these teeny tiny perfect little flowers that are pretty on cards or on soap or beautiful on like a cupcake. So just, again, just for fun. And all edible. This is some English lavender, some whole marigolds here, and again the calendula, which can be used. It's so good for your skin and your hair, and so I love to use it in beauty products, but I also love to use it in the kitchen. So this is, I have a jar of this everywhere. Again, the roses. These were just zinnias that I just picked from the garden and just dropped off here and left them, and that's that. They just look pretty. Roses again, snapdragons, and then this is a fun herbal blend of sunflowers, nasturtiums, lavender, sage, rosemary, oregano. It's for my chicken coop. My girls don't mind a little bougie nesting city chickens. This is not only masks their smell, which they love, but it also is a pest repellent. The mums, oregano, lavender, all of these things deter bugs. So useful and bougie at the same time. So I love it. It's a fun collection. I use these flowers for multiple reasons. We really started out using them because I'm a mom of 6. They mostly came 2 by 2. And so that meant I've spent the last, I don't know, over a decade at home. And not a big budget when you have a lot of kids. So you have to really get crafty about entertaining. And we found that foraging for nature supplies was an activity in itself. And then bringing them in and finding ways to use them just was so much fun. We kept finding more and more ways to use them. Before you know it, it's just part of our garden cycle now. So we use it in, like I said, soaps. I like to make melt and pour soaps. I don't have time for making it the real way, so I do the shortcut way. And then I just sprinkle on a little combination of chopped up petals, just for extra pretties. If you add them inside your soap, they will brown relatively quickly. But if you do it in, like this one here is the honey soap with calendula inside, it looks beautiful and it's good for your skin. This was chamomile flowers that started out white and then now they've got this little green color. So they do change They do change colors, but they're pretty. And then again, this is a dried rosemary sprig, just put in the soap and then overlaid with clear soap. Cute, right? We also use our flowers for sachets. I have a sachet in every drawer of our house. It's super easy. They're super easy to make. It's literally just handfuls of whatever pretties you collected that you want to smell lovely. Stick them in a bag and then add essential oils to them and let them marinate in the sandwich bag in these essential oils for a little bit, and they will take on that scent. And then you put them in these cute little bags and then spread them all over your house or give them away as gifts, which they're wonderful gifts. Flowers do tend to lose their scent relatively quickly. They'll keep their color much longer. So essential oils do play a role in reusing these a lot. I love to just potpourri them up and scent them however I want. You could add pine cones and, you know, whatever. So that, plus, like I said, I like to use the nature on cards that we make. We love to incorporate our dried flowers in bath salts or just throw them in the tub for pretties. There's so many things you can do. So not only are they useful in the kitchen and crafting and beauty supplies, and they also double as decor. I mean, they look amazing. I love walking past this cupboard. It makes me smile every day. The glass jars are a combination of just mason jars and jars I've collected from secondhand stores. As long as they can seal, they're airtight, they're good to use. You can even reuse, you know, the glass jars that we buy at the grocery store that have the pasta sauce or whatever in it. Save those. Save all of your glass jars, and then collect stuff in it. You will not regret it. These, I get a lot of compliments on these pretty round, they're pumpkins. I fill them full of, you know, candy in October, and then every other month of the year they get flipped around and filled full of flowers. Cute, right? Who knew? So how do I dry my flowers? Well, I do it naturally. I like to dry them on window screens. Window screens, again, can be found at the thrift store, at hardware stores, and hello on your window. So you've got this already. The other thing I use is just a regular utility like metal rack shelf. So it's open airflow, and that's the key, open airflow. So when I dry my flowers, especially for eating, I want to rinse them off. If they're flowers I know I'm not going to eat, I might skip the rinsing step. But basically, I pick my flowers, I let them sit on my front porch, which is covered, for about an hour or so the bugs can run for their lives. Then I bring the flowers in, I rinse them off, all the petals, and then I stick them on these screens. I put them on the open air rack, and I set them away from direct sunlight in a room with really good airflow. So I put them in my dining room because they don't have any windows in my dining room. And that works perfect. That allows them to just naturally air dry. Takes about 1 to 2 weeks, depending on season and temperature. And that's it. And then you just jar them up, or you can seal them in sandwich bags, however you prefer to store them. They will hold their color for quite some time. So much longer than if you would dehydrate them or speed dry them in some way. So slow and steady wins the race for sure. It's super easy to dry, and it just takes a handful here and there. I'm always careful to never take all my flowers because they're also companion plants for my vegetables in the garden, and I need them to do their job. Those flowers attract pests, especially like nasturtiums. I don't pick a lot of them because they are warriors in the garden, and I need them to do their job. So some for me, some for the bugs, some for me, some for the bees. That's just how it goes. And then if I'm growing them to eat them, it's really important that you grow them organically. Do not use pesticides or harsh fertilizers. You need them to be clean if they're going to go into your body. So always important to remember. Otherwise, it's a very simple collection. It's super fun to collect all season long. We do this from the beginning of spring, since the first tulip pops up, because did you know tulips are edible? So from the very beginning of spring, when the tulips and lilacs are popping, all the way until fall, till the mums and then the last bit of the calendulas disappear in the garden in winter. So it definitely will keep you busy, and it is a collection worth collecting. I hope you enjoyed this little tour of my pantries. I hope it in some way inspires you to get growing and collecting your own. It really is amazing how little handful harvests here and there can add up all season long and turn into these beautiful rewarding collections. I'm looking forward to sharing with you tips and ideas, inspirations, failures and successes all year long with Kellogg Garden. So be sure to subscribe and hit that notification button so you don't miss a beat. Happy gardening!